One of my favorite fighters, Yuri Prohaska, just got knocked out pretty bad. And it was an eye-opening moment. Not really. It was more just like a depressive moment. So, leaving that as it is, it's already done. It's already happened. I want to move past it. And the way I'm going to move past it is talk about my other favorite fighter, Jack Della Maddalena. Now, as you may know, he is also fighting someone with the first name Carlos. Coincidence? I think not. Carlos Prates versus Jack Della Maddalena is going down in Perth, Australia on May 2nd. And I am super excited for it. I am very, very hyped for this fight. I've been itching to see this for quite a while. Once it got announced, my heart basically stopped. But let me keep it real. I think Carlos Prates is a super dangerous matchup. You know, his power is unreal. It really is. He is one of the pound per pound hardest hitters in the UFC, and that's not, I think, a crazy thing to say. He has wicked power. The way he knocked out Leon Edwards, the knockout against Jeff Neal with the spinning elbow. It's just this dude is insane. His power is crazy. He is called the Nightmare for a reason. And Jack Della Maddalena, on the other hand, very slick boxer, really tight and close combinations. Does well chaining it from the body to the head, and has one of hell of a chin. A big thing going on right now with this fight is I think the stock is very low for Jack. And understandable. You know, he lost against Islam Makhachev, which in reality isn't that bad of a loss just because that is probably the best fighter in the UFC currently right now. You know, double champ, 28 or 29-1, something like that. Wins over Volk, wins over Jack, wins over Oliveira, Dustin Poirier. It's like the list goes on. So overall, not a bad loss, I guess. But still, you know, it was not a good look. He got smudged for 5 rounds and didn't look good out there. I was questioning who this fighter is because it didn't really resemble JDM and someone I've seen in the past. But moving past that, this is a dangerous matchup for him. Obviously, I'm very nervous. But I want to take this time, take this break in between kind of UFC fight nights and such, because honestly, the next couple fight nights aren't really that great. I figured I'd do something a little bit different. Instead of getting predictions, this is like more of a breakdown. So, starting off with Carlos Prates. Like I said, he has wicked power on the feet. Very good takedown defense, honestly. I think that's something that's kind of getting overlooked. Leon Edwards had some success on the ground. You know, was able to get his back and control him for a good chunk of the first round, but eventually Prates did find the killing blow. And Prates has knocked out everybody in the UFC, besides Ian Machado Gary. He's the only person to defeat Prates. And even in that 5th round in their fight, Prates came very close to finishing Ian Gary in that. Very, very close, actually. But Prates, very good Muay Thai. I mean, the dude has Muay Thai tattooed on his chest. So, I mean, you got to be pretty good at it. If you have that tattooed, you're probably a little dangerous. But super long reach, super nice knees. He's a sniper. And I feel like he sets up shots very well. And that's what I've kind of like glazed him in the past about. Is his setups where he may not be a very high volume striker. He still sets up a strike to make you drop your hands and land that killing blow. Like we saw it against Trevin Giles, where he was kind of low output, you know, using that knee up close, making Giles kind of drop his guard in those moments, and then finally found the killing blow. I think in the end of the 2nd round, I believe. Could be wrong in that one. I did watch a lot of fights of both guys, leading up to this video, so I do have some or pretty good memory of that. But Prates, man, he is dangerous. Like I said, very wicked power, but low output. Very low output, but that's kind of what he uses to his advantage. He kind of just sets up his shots and then finds that, the shot that ends the fight. In the Ian Machado-Gary fight, he did a really excellent job in like just stifling Prates' setups, where Prates really couldn't get anything started. And Prates has admitted since then that he was a little bit more hesitant in that fight and just like was kind of just biding his time because he thought, hey, I just seen one shot, I can find the KO eventually, nothing to worry about. But like I said, Machado-Gary did a very excellent job stifling, kind of circling out of range. Defense was on point. Leg kicks really good. Body kicks too, just kind of disrupt the arms of Prates. And then, mixed in the grappling when it needed to be. And a big thing that I saw when rewatching that Ian Gary fight was once Ian Gary became comfortable with his striking, he started to land combinations. And to be quite real, he landed really good combinations on Prates. I think Ian Gary is very talented. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think he has this fantastic striking or boxing. I think he's just a very well-rounded MMA fighter overall. Like, very excellent. But he was piecing up on Prates, like, I think in the fourth round, maybe third or fourth round, where he just started to land more combinations. You kind of just, like, saw him take over. And Prates is very likely to back up to the fence. His defense, let's keep it real, is not that good. The stats actually show it. I think his striking defense is like a high 30% or low 40%. And the amount of strikes he lands compared to the amount of strikes he absorbs more strikes than he lands, which is not a good look. Not to a lot of people, and I've seen that in those fights. Like, he just doesn't have good defense. But honestly, it really doesn't matter at some points where he just, he has that KO power that he just relies on, and he knows he has that wicked power. So I don't think it really disrupts him or, I guess, frustrates him when he, lands less than he gets hit. With that said, Jack Della Maddalena, great combination striker. His boxing is excellent. I think people really underrate JDM's boxing just because of the recent fight that we had with Islam. He got basically no striking offense, chances to even show. But against like Bilal, which, Bilal, people laugh at that, but I think Bilal is still pretty damn good. And Bilal has a crazy-ass chin. He's a pretty decent striker. And even before that, JDM was tagging up Gilbert Burns. I just rewatched that fight, just 30 minutes ago. Man, JDM had won that first round, maybe won the second round, and then got the finish in the third. He was tagging up Burns. He wasn't landing like crazy power shots, but still, those jabs were strong, the uppercuts, just like around the guard, the body shots, man, it all adds up. It all adds up for Jack. And we've seen in the past, Jack has really good footwork, really good combinations, great just overall fight IQ, switching stances, landing to the body, landing to the head, mixing up their targets. And when you watch Jack in some of his fights, like the Gilbert Burns fights, a lot of his striking and momentum gets disrupted by wrestling. And that's what we saw with Islam fight, obviously, too, where he just couldn't get off anything. When you put him against a wrestler, he doesn't really build momentum like he has success in the past. Like, when you watch Jack just primarily strike, like against like Ange Lusa, or in the last 2 rounds of Basel Hafez, or even Kevin Holland, you can see him start to really land a lot better. And I do want to point out the Kevin Holland fight, because I think that's a pretty interesting comparison fight when you're looking at him versus Prates. Because like we know, Kevin Holland's a very rangy dude, taller than Prates, and has a longer reach. I think he has an 80-inch reach, so only a 2-inch advantage over Prates. Doesn't have, obviously, as crazy KO power, but still, he does have some decent power, Kevin Holland, especially in the past. People forget, man, he knocked out Joaquin Buckley and also chinned Anthony Hernandez. So I think Kevin Holland does have the power, but he's just looked like shit in the last couple fights he's had. Anyways, I think it's a pretty good fight to compare to, because in that fight, Jack was landing very well on Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland does a really good job at just kind of like rolling with the shots, using kind of like a Philly shell, I guess, so, blocking the shots with his shoulder and really not being able to like land all that much consequential shots. But still, even when Jack opened up, he was able to get the reach, find the range, and land on Kevin Holland. And then when Holland was trying to land on Jack, he was having almost 0%. Like, look at the stats on that fight. Look at the strikes that Kevin Holland's throwing compared to what he's landing. Even in the corner, I think in the second round, or right before the second round, he asked his ref, or the coach, he's like, am I landing on him? And he's like, and the coach is like, yeah, you're landing him. Like, you're hitting him. And it's like, if you really watch that fight on 0.5 speed, I'm kidding. You can see that Kevin Holland's actually struggling quite a lot to actually land on Jack, just because Jack's defense is so excellent. And I think his 64% striking defense is, I think, inaccurate. I think he has a better striking defense than that actually shows, because most of the shots that Kevin Holland was, like they said he landed, I don't think were landing. But anyways, I do think it's a good fight to look at with this. Same with Randy Brown. It was a quick fight, but still he was able to find the reach, find the range, just because Randy Brown's a very elusive fighter. It seems pretty awkward to fight. But with someone like Carlos Prates, not good defense. Like, really not that good. And I think that's something that's going very under the radar in this fight, where Prates is so likely to just back up against the cage and just get ripped to the body. He's done a better job. I think he's improved since the Ian Machado-Gary fight. I think the fight against Jeff Neal, he really showed his improvements, and I think that could be a factor, obviously, in this fight, where he just doesn't really get back to the cage all that much, not as easily at least, and then kind of like circles out of range. But still, his defense is still bad. Like, I don't care what you have to say. Leon was able to land on him a few times. Ian Machado-Gary obviously landed on him quite a lot. And with someone who has that Muay Thai background, he doesn't really like put his hands up. He kind of just like pulls his knee up and like extends his arm. That's what he kind of just like goes with. And with someone like JDM, who has those ripping body shots where he can just rip to the body, especially if he makes Carlos Prates miss, because that's the thing. Prates is a low volume striker, and we've seen in the past with Jack, he can slip shots and then rip to the body, rip to the head, and with not as much volume coming out, I don't think there's much of a danger where Jack needs to be, obviously he has to be defensively aware the whole entire fight, because if he doesn't, he's going to end up like Leon, where Leon just put his hands down and then got chinned. But with Jack, he can just dip his head movements on point, land combinations in close, back Prates up against the fence, and honestly, lay waste to him. I think as long as Jack keeps his guard extremely high, I think the only issue with that, though, is Prates' knees in close. Those are pretty devastating, can really destroy the cardio. We see them, knock out Charles Radke via knee to the body, and that could be a very useful tool for Prates. But like I said, Maddalena's defense is very excellent, very, very excellent. I think that's what's really going to come down to. And in this fight, I just see Prates having the same defense as he's had in the past, not very good, and is going to get pieced up by Jack very quickly. Once Jack begins to feel his flow, get his momentum going, he's going to rip body shots, head shots. He's going to, try to kick at range a little bit, maybe disrupt some of Prates setups. And eventually, I think he's going to have Prates against the cage and find a TKO finish against Prates, similar to how he found a finish against Randy Brown. Obviously, he won't fall as comically as Randy Brown, but I think the striking will be, and the boxing will just be the biggest deciding factor in this fight. Prates has never fought someone as powerful as Jack, and obviously Jack has never fought anybody as powerful as Prates. And that's a fact because, look at these guys' resumes. No one has really fought these guys who have this insane power. And when you're looking at this fight, I feel like the only way Prates can actually win is via KO. I think Jack could, maybe get a club and sub, but I think Prates' defense is pretty damn good on the ground. He's likely to get a TKO, and he's even more likely to get a decision, I believe. But I trust in Jack's chin quite a lot. I think he was dropped on the regional scene in Eternal MMA, but other than that, he recovers so quick. He ate a crazy elbow from Gilbert Burns in their fight. And say what you will about Burns, but in that fight, he looked pretty, game in that fight. It looked really good too. And landed a flush elbow as Jack was coming in, and Jack ate it. He ate it like it was nothing. And sure, I know Prates has that crazy power. I'm not comparing it like it's exactly the same, but I'm still believe that Jack's chin will hold up very well. And it's not like Prates is gonna break his nose. It's already broken, bro. What's another? Maybe he's gonna turn it the other way. It's gonna go the different direction. Oh my god. But I just imagine this fight playing out where Jack can just piece up Prates. Now, where could I see Prates having success? I think a big factor could be the leg kicks. We've seen Jack do okay against leg kicks. I know people have said the Islam fight, his leg got chewed up immediately. I don't know if it was that effective. Honestly, I think Jack he's such a momentum fighter that he just wasn't able to get off any combinations that were even remotely consequential. So I think that just the wrestling just really hindered the output of Jack, obviously, and really just didn't let him get started with anything, because he is a momentum fighter. I truly believe that. We just watch the Bilal fight. And those leg kicks could be there for all day for Prates. It's going to be a very useful tool for him, especially while Jack switches stances a lot. The knee to the body for Prates, JDM has a really high guard. He keeps his hands really high when he's guarding. And so those body shots and knees will be there for Prates. But I just see Jack being too difficult to land on for Prates, being too slick in the boxing, and beating the shit out of Prates. I think the first round could be kind of slow and just Jack's trying to find his range, work on his jab. And then once he kind of learns that he can push Prates against the fence and kind of, find shots, I think Jack's going to start to pour it on. And that could be his downfall, honestly, leaving his, kind of sacrificing his defense for offense. That could be a factor. But like I said, I think Jack is going to find a TKO finish against Prates very quickly. Maybe in the late second rounds. I'm going to say under 2.5. It could be end of third round, but I'm going to say under 2.5. Because honestly, if Jack gets chinned, it's going to be pretty quick. And if JDM chins Prates, I think it's going to be also pretty quick. I think Jack could really start to pour it on for Prates, work on those body shots where it just kind of hinders the power of Prates just because he has, like, he's just, he's gasping because he's getting hit and ripped to the body. And we didn't really see anything like that from Ian Gary, because I do think Prates' gas tank is really excellent. Jack's gas tank is really good as well. So I'm not really worried about that, but I think those body shots could add up quite fast and make Prates' power less effective as the fight continues. Obviously, the most dangerous round is going to be the first round for Jack, as long as he can find his range and kind of keep his defense perfect. Then I think he's just gonna destroy Prates, and that's my prediction in this fight. Obviously, I'll make a full card prediction when it comes closer to the fights, but that's the way I see it. Will this age like milk? I really hope not, because, man, I don't want to see Jack, get knocked out. I really, really don't. And honestly, I like Prates a lot too, so it kind of sucks that these guys are fighting. I was hoping it'd be JDM versus Usman, and then like Prates versus Michael Morales. That's what I really wanted, just because I like both these guys. I love Jack, and I really like Carlos Prates. I've been following this guy for a while. When he first got in the UFC, I've watched all his fights, leading up to where here we are now, So it's like watching your parents fight. It's going to be a hard watch, and it's going to be, oh my God, my heart's going to be pounding in this fight. But it should be an incredible fight no matter how it goes. Obviously, I wanted to go a specific way, but like we've seen with the Yuri Prohaska, this is the UFC, and there is no forgiveness. There is nothing that you can do sometimes, and you just have to sit and watch. If you guys want to let me know down in the comments who you guys have for your official pick. I know it's kind of far out, but still, it'd be interesting to talk about it, as this should be a very hype fight, and I think a lot of people are really excited for this one. But this is also in Perth, Australia, so Jack's hometown, so it'd be a lot of pressure on him for sure, but it should be a very, very good night for Jack. That's at least what I'm hoping for. But yeah, I'm really looking for this one. This one's going to be awesome. Like both these guys. So that's my full prediction on this fight. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.